Panagdait to each and everyone, especially to our instructor, Ms. Jinky Mariginia. Once again, I am Rika Midi Duldulao, the assigned reporter to discuss to you the topic Peace Education, Teaching Learning Strategies. Since elementary up to college, teachers or instructors use various teaching learning strategies in teaching their students in accordance to the subject or course they are teaching. But first, let me ask you this question. What are teaching strategies, by the way? Teaching strategies are methods that teachers use to deliver course material in ways that keep students engaged and practicing different skill sets. That is according to Effective Teaching Strategy 2021. In Peace Education, there are 15 teaching learning strategies that can be used and in which I am going to discuss to you today. The first strategy is small group work. Most activities in the module will employ small group discussion to provide space for maximum participation. Learners will work cooperatively to discuss, analyze, or come to consensus on an issue or problem. An example of small group work is the first group activity we had in Mrs. Sardinia's class, which is the sharing and consensus vision activity. As we all know, she grouped us into 4, which is a small number, enough for every member to participate actively and well in the group. In the said activity, we discuss and share our own vision about peaceful world and current realities, and examine and instruct the main idea of each vision and come up with an agreed vision of peaceful world and current realities with a group. In this approach, the pedagogical principle illustrated are values and holism. The next approach is role play and simulation. Learners act out parts as instructed in the module to achieve the objective. In addition, role plays and simulation work to excite students' curiosity. When students are enrolled, they have learned how to ask important and thoughtful questions and to use this to critically analyze situations. Simulations are particularly useful when they are designed and selected by students and present a holistic picture of the situation that is being depicted. An example of role play and simulation is Simulations in U.S. High School History Class by Smith 2010. An example that Smith gives from his U.S. history course involves labor relations in the U.S. in the early 20th century. This time period was defined by fights for labor rights, using strikes and unionizing throughout industrial cities of the United States. In this simulation, the majority of students are general laborers. They are given an in-depth story of their personal history to help them react to specific situations. However, a few students have roles that are more powerful, such as the head of factory or the spokesperson for the union. Therefore, Smith has to work to ensure that the students who have powerful roles do not dominate in their participation in the simulation, since this will lead to boredom and lack of involvement from the rest of the students. In roleplay and simulation, the pedagogical principle illustrated are holism and values. The next approach is guided discussion. Learners discussion issues or concepts in a focused way directed by the instructor. Brainstorming. Learners offer ideas that are accepted uncritically in an effort to encourage creative thinking about issues or problems. Discussions are a type of active learning that allows students to work through skills and concepts from course content by formulating ideas in their own words. Guiding questions can encourage higher order levels of thinking that can result in deeper, richer discussions with their peers and the instructor. Discussions can occur asynchronously or synchronously so that learners can clarify understanding, organize their ideas, debate topics, and practice skills. And that is according to Baylor University. In guided discussion, the pedagogical principle illustrated is dialogue, since it is more on communication between teachers and students. An example of guided discussion is round-robin brainstorming. To achieve this, the class is broken into groups that are ideally 4 to 6 students, and one person is designated as the recorder. The instructor poses a question that does not simply have one answer, and students are given think time to think about how they will answer. Next, students share their responses within their group in a round-robin style, taking turns until each other has a turn. The recorder records the common answer. The next approach is web charting. According to Pancare 2018, a common effective teaching method is to use visual presentations in a classroom. Charts and diagrams are especially helpful as they enable students to see ideas visually laid out in an organized way. In web charting, there are 4 steps involved. Teacher encourages learners to list their ideas in the topic. Second, after all ideas have been elicited, space is provided for clarification. Learners can ask which idea needs to be clarified. The questions asked is what. Third, a space for challenging the ideas is provided by allowing the learners to ask why. Fourth, connect or look for relationships among the ideas listed. This is done collaboratively. So an example of web charting is the picture you can see or the chart you can see on the right side. Let's say for example, the topic given by the teacher is about peace, and the teacher asks the students to make a web chart about peace. So in the second step, or in the first step, the students list their ideas about peace, like for example, well-functioning government, low levels of corruption, high level of human capital, so on and so forth. And then, after all ideas have been listed or elicited, space is provided for clarification. This time, the students can ask or clarify their ideas to the teacher about their ideas, and then the next is a space is provided for challenging the ideas. So this time, the students were challenged to explain or give reasons why they come up with such ideas about peace. And then next is, or the last step is, connect or look for relationships. So this time, the teachers and the instructor help one another in looking for connections between the ideas given or listed. Let's say for example, manang connection sa well-functioning government, sa free flow of information, unsa man ang connection sa low levels of corruption, sa high level of human capital, so something in ana. In web charting, the pedagogical principle illustrated are values and dialogue. The next approach or strategy is the negotiation exercises. Students practice cooperative problem solving, empathy, perspective taking, and win-win negotiation techniques to solve problems. An example of negotiation exercise is or are role-playing scenarios. Role-playing also helps point out how effective certain tactics can be in a pressured situation. Likewise, role-play simulations introduce participants to new negotiation and dispute resolution tools, techniques, and strategies. Simulations that employ game theory enable participants to analyze negotiations, make strategic decisions, and anticipate their counterparts' next move. And that is according to the blog entitled How is Teaching Negotiation Beneficial 2021. In negotiation exercise, the pedagogical principle illustrated is holism. The next strategy is case study. Learners analyze scenarios based on interpersonal conflicts or community conflicts, such as adapted from real situations based on local culture. Success stories may also be used for analysis. Example of case study is the case study on Mindanao, the Philippines, with the title Women's Participation and Leadership in Peace Building. This case study analyzes the complex and dynamic features and context of women's participation and leadership in peace-building processes by examining the socio-economic attributes of women in the conflict-affected areas of Mindanao. In case study, the pedagogical principle illustrated is holism. The next strategy is opinion poll. Students give their own opinions on a series of statements or principles that are neither right or wrong in order to explore people's value and opinions on an issue. An example of opinion poll is a picture you can see on the right side. Let's just say, for example, the teacher asked the students, "What is your basis in voting the next president?" So the young man answered, "I voted for change," while the old man answered, "I chose experience." So as you can see, both have different perspective or answer, because for the young man, he said he voted for change maybe because he wanted a president who would brought or who could brought changes in the country like progress and development, while the old man chose someone who has experience because maybe for him a leader or a president, or he wants a leader or a president who has a political experience, of course, is a political leader before, tapos because of his experience na siya indot nga performance in leadership. So maybe that is the reason. So they have different reasons, they have different views and opinions, and from their opinions there is no right, there is also no wrong, because that is their opinion. And what is important in opinion poll is that ma-explore ang idea sa mga students, because even if lahi-lahi tag ideas, naman gupod tayo ma-learn ana. So in opinion poll, the pedagogical principle illustrated is values. The next strategy is songwriting. Learners in small groups may be asked to analyze the conflict, the causes and effects, and provide peaceful solutions to the problem and present this in a song. Songs will be sung by the group. So kita man siguro tanan or dili kita tanan nakasulay og mag-compose sa song atong high school ta sa ESP, kay katong kami magod tong grade 10 gipa-compose mi og song about kalikasan sa among ESP teacher. And dito sa song among gi-express ang effect ug solution. So ang effect niya is hugaw na kay ang palibot, makalat na, tapos ang iyang cause is kita mga tao nga magpataka-araglabay sa basura, and then ang solution is magkaisa tayo mga kabataan, mag-reduce, reuse, recycle. So something in ana ang among song nga na-compose about kalikasan. So in songwriting, the pedagogical principle illustrated are holism and critical empowerment. So nganong na may critical empowerment? Because in song manggod, in singing songs, especially kanang ay deep message o kanang para jud sa tong environment, about humanity, murag Nadyo something makuan sa tong heart, di ba, murag matouch. So mo na siya sa songwriting. Next is poster or mural making. After making an analysis of the conflict situation, the learners may present the results in a poster or mural. So an example of poster is the picture you can see on the right side. So ang topic ani or ang issue ani is about violence against women. So sa poster makita nato nga naay hands nga murag nag-stop, manifest og stop nga murag symbol. So diri nga poster gipakita nga let us be united in stopping and promoting gender equality. So in poster or mural making, the pedagogical principle illustrated is holism. The next approach or strategy is poem writing. Writing a poem either individually or in small groups may also be a powerful teaching strategy. According to Azcona 2002, literature such as poem is a way to acculturate peace because it looks after a beauty as a value and has the eye in its point of view enough to bring a panoramic view of reality to the reader, a synthesis not separated, in the better cases, from a moral message. It has a power to modify the mind in immediate moment and not in decades. In poem writing, the pedagogical principle illustrated is critical empowerment because in poem writing, dili ma-express sa writer sa iyang emotions about a certain topic or issue and very concrete siya, makatandog jud siya sa atong heart, dili lang sa atong mind, especially if ang poem nga nasulat is kanang i-recite bitaw sa koan sa writers mga students with feelings or emotions and koan po kay siya maigo jud ta because of the moral message nga ma-realize na nga poem. The next approach is media and textual content analysis. Analysis of news from newspapers, TV or radio or other magazines may also be used. One example of media analysis is the content analysis, an interpretive and naturalistic approach. It is both observational and narrative in nature and relies less on the experimental elements associated with scientific research. That is according to Ethnography, Observational Research, and Narrative Inquiry, 1994-2012. So, media and textual content analysis illustrates the pedagogical principle holism. The next approach is cooperative games. Learners play the games as they analyze the conflict. An example of cooperative games is Tea Party. Students form two circles facing each other, one inner circle and one outer circle. The students are given a question and they are to discuss the question with the student they are facing. The student on the outer circle moves in one direction, so they have a new partner to discuss with. Another question is asked and more discussion is created with a new partner. And that is according to Colorado 2015. So in cooperative games, the pedagogical principle illustrated is values. The next strategy is field exposures or immersion. If time allows, learners may be allowed to immerse or be exposed to the community conflict issue like slum area or participate in a project to address a conflict like coastal cleanup campaign. In field exposures or immersion, kaning mga activities niya or projects nga pambuhaton sa mga students is beyond na siya sa school borders. So, na siya sa gawas. For example, coastal cleanup, sa mga beach, magmunit og mga plastics, mga basura, palimpyo pod ang palibot sa dagat. So, in field exposures or immersion, ang pedagogical principle nga na-illustrate is holism. Next is peace conferences and forums or open classrooms to learn about people's and policymakers' perspectives. What is peace conference, by the way? A peace conference is a conference where representatives of foreign governments or countries sign a treaty to end conflict. That is according to collinsdictionary.com. An example of peace conference in the Philippines is the Conference of Forum ZFD Project Office with the title Peace Conference, Dialogue with the Youth on Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism, and the Bangsamoro Organic Law, including discrimination against minorities, at Panorama Summit Hotel, Davao City on November 27 to 29, 2018. The conference was part of Forum ZFD's project on preventing and countering violent extremism, focusing on youth. In this approach, the pedagogical principle illustrated is holism. And also, it could be values. Next is storytelling. Stories may be used to help learners analyze the root causes of conflict and violence. According to Jones and Crowther 2014, stories can be a way of enabling people who have experienced discrimination, trauma, stigmatization, or violence to tell their story and be heard. They can raise awareness about sensitive issues like rape, displacement, tribal tension, or lack of women's representation. They can be particularly useful in literacy classes and circles in encouraging participants to share their experiences, learning to read and write about issues which are important to them, and gaining confidence to take action in their lives. In storytelling, the pedagogical principle illustrated are dialogue and critical empowerment. So we are now on the last part of the discussion, which is the conclusion. The teaching learning strategies of peace education are various techniques that are very essential for the teachers in teaching and integrating the lesson and helpful in achieving its goals and objective. In addition, these strategies does not only help teachers, but students as well to acquire needed knowledge and understanding about the sources of violence in people's lives and exploring non-violent ways to deal with conflict. It helps the students develop certain skills such as problem-solving skills, negotiation skills, and interpersonal skills. According, the goals of peace educators includes teaching students how to manage conflict without violence, respect all forms of life, and engage in social justice activities. With the use of these strategies, the students are encouraged to be active, creative, participative, and reflective in analyzing situations and creating meaningful and peaceful solutions that are vital in achieving the goals of peace education. That is all for the topic, Peace Education, Pedagogical Principles, and Teaching Learning Strategies. Thank you for watching. May God bless us all.